What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special NBA trade deadline edition of Wavelengths. I'm Stephen Heimers. We have a packed show today. We have Wayne Diesel, host
Yep.
of Calling It How It Is, and Wayne and Zane. We have Lowell. We have recurring guest Theo and co-host of Nothing But Hoops, Deonta. A lot went down today.
Doing, man?
A lot to talk about. Deonta, I want to start with you. What was the craziest trade, best trade that was made today?
So if I had to say the craziest trade, I'd probably have to say Nikola Vucevic to Chicago. I knew they were shopping him because we all know Orlando's a terrible team, and they ever since Dwight Howard, they've just been one of the worst teams in basketball. No offense to Orlando Magic fans out there, if there are any. Yeah, I didn't see him getting traded to Chicago. That's like, I've seen him rumored to a couple teams, but definitely that one surprised me out of all of them.
You think it's going to work with him and Levine? I like how they actually got him a big man that can shoot and not be one-dimensional. So I think it's going to be a pretty successful marriage. Yeah,
so I think it's going to work out pretty good because, like you said, he can stretch the floor. He may not be the best shooting big, but he's definitely a big who can go out there. You have to contest it. He can get boards. He can get his own shot. It's definitely going to space out the floor to allow guys like Levine and Marketing to have space to get inside the paint and actually score instead of just having to, settle on the outside of the perimeter, mid-range to the three-point shot. So that's why I definitely think it's going to work out. Plus, with the coaching of a guy like Billy Donovan, who's shown no matter where he goes, they have some form of success. So I definitely feel like this is going to work out for them.
Wayne, how about you? When you woke up, what didn't you expect to see that happened today?
What I didn't expect to see, I'm with Deonta. I didn't expect to see Vooch going to Chicago. I love the move. I knew they was going to do something, and I knew Orlando was going to blow it up. That's why I'm not so down on Orlando. Orlando fans should actually feel good this morning, actually. But the move of moves that happened today, this evening, when Rondo went to the Clippers are winning the championship. They winning that was the best move today that happened. The Orlando move was cool. All kind of stuff happened. I lost track. All the moves were cool when they was nice, except the Knicks getting some Terrence Ferguson. But I digress. Outside of that, everything else was all right. But that Rondo move was solid because they already had wing play. They was already playing good. They already had cohesion. They already had a chip on their shoulder. And now they got Rondo, a point guard that they needed. I was thinking they may get Kyle Lowry or George Hill, something like that. But you got Rondo play. That's what they needed. Because we see what Paul George does in the playoffs. We see he's all right, but he's good, but he needs a leader. So now they got somebody that's known for showing up in the playoffs, and they got a leader. That's what they needed. They straight. So that was the move right there.
Yeah, I would have said Lowell going back to Magic City. Sorry, I mean, getting traded to the Hawks was a bigger deal. But after you adamantly said how Rondo was better, I can't argue with it. He's a veteran presence that they needed alongside PG and Kawhi. And although he's not going to break the stat sheet, he's a real important guy that they need in that team after just falling apart in the bubble last year. And it cost Doc his job. So I think that Rondo being there could really be the glue that could potentially propel them to a deep playoff run.
All they need is leadership, and now they got it.
Exactly.
Theo, I want to switch it up a little bit to you. The Eastern Conference made a lot of moves today. Obviously, the Magic big winners, the Heat getting Victor Oladipo. Who in the East now, besides Brooklyn, do you think has the best shot at winning it all?
I like the move Milwaukee made last week, getting PJ Tucker. That's a wing defender that they needed in that series with the Heat last year. The Sixers struck out. I think they wanted Lowry. George Hill's not a bad replacement. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. So I think they made some good moves. The Heat obviously added Oladipo. That's another creator on the wing. I think the Heat, again, are going to give somebody hell in a playoff series. But I don't think anyone made a move to jump in front of Brooklyn in this last week.
Wow.
you Brooklyn the best team in the East?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Huh. Interesting.
I think they're the best. I don't know how. I want to see how this team performs for more than a week at a time with all three
I would have
playing.
liked to see them grab a big that can guard Embiid. I still don't know why they gave Jared Allen away to Cleveland a couple months ago. DeAndre Jordan on Embiid's not a good matchup. They have too much scoring.
Yeah, Brooklyn's an interesting team. They haven't played enough together for me to really form a real opinion. Obviously, on paper, they should at least make it to the finals, but you got to see when you get out there and play with all of them. That's the
But
best.
even the team
best
I've
bet.
seen last couple of weeks without Durant, the team without Durant, I think I still might pick to win the East. And that's like they're going to get Durant back. And you have to assume that adding Kevin Durant, a top 5 player, is going to make them even better.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation with the East because for so many years it was locked down by LeBron. Last 2, it was kind of wide open, and then Brooklyn formed their own super team. So it's a weird situation that the East is in. So Lau, I want to ask you, what move did you not like today that was made by one of these teams?
I didn't like the move. I mean, I think the Heat deal was a amazing deal for the Heat, but I mean, I guess the Rockets are trying to rebuild, but I think like you could have gotten more for Oladipo than like Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, the Rockets screwed that situation up bad.
Yeah, like they're not like Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley. I don't think are going to be helpful in almost any way in like a long-term rebuild. I think that I think you could have gotten more out of that Oladipo trade. I love that deal.
Because they got Oladipo for Jared Allen and LeVert, and they basically just turned Jared Allen and LeVert into Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk. Like no one's doing that.
Yeah, it was not a good move for the Houston.
They wouldn't go get no more for Victor Oladipo. They wouldn't go get no more.
Yeah,
that was no bad move. They wouldn't go get that.
I think even if the trade was made about a week ago, they could have gotten something for Olynyk, even if it was a second-round pick. I think now that they're kind of stuck with him, so he's just gonna play it out there in Houston for the rest of the year, and then kind of just probably leave. No harm, no foul. Move I really liked was the Mavs getting JJ Reddick. They traded away Luka's bodyguard James Johnson in the process, but I think they needed shooters. Luka, they're going to run that man into the ground. It's unfortunate, but it's just going to happen. You saw last year in the playoffs, just the look on his face. There's only so much he can do. So I'm glad they got him a proven wing scorer, obviously one of the best from 3. This year he's struggling a little bit. But I think that move, I don't think it wins them the West by any stretch of the imagination, but I like it a lot for them.
Yeah, I definitely like the move because you saw last year with Luka, he's obviously he's Luka, he's one of the best players in basketball. But then you have a guy like Porzingis whose health is always up and down, especially with his knees, come off the ACL. Just ever since then, it's just been up and down. So definitely getting somebody like Reddick. I know he's been struggling, but they're depending on him, but they don't really need we really need this guy to step up. Dallas is already a pretty solid team, so inserting somebody like a JJ Reddick who you can just get about 3 to 4 threes a game out of him, that's all you can really ask for. I definitely think that was a good move.
I think another winner in this, obviously, I said it a little earlier, the Orlando Magic. They went from a fringe playoff team, full-on rebuild, and the pieces they added, a 2025 first, Al-Farouq Aminu, he's going to be gone, so that's nothing. 2 firsts from Chicago. That doesn't make much sense to me. Wendell Carter, RJ Hampton, Gary Harris. They added 3 first-round picks for Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic. I don't know what the opposing GMs were doing, but Deonta, as you said, Orlando doesn't have a lot going for him. So this is probably the best win they'll have all season.
Exactly. And, like you said, they're getting picks. And they definitely have pieces to actually build. So it's just like, okay, you still have your Gary Harris. He's a pretty decent tween, combo guard. And then you got your Wendell Carter, who's a big ass on the rising. And like I said, the first round picks, you can just build off those picks. They might not be high picks because obviously with Chicago giving their picks up, they're definitely, they definitely might be, a playoff team. So they'll probably be in the teens. But I think it's a pick swap. So even which way, they're definitely getting the higher pick of those two picks. So I definitely think Orlando came out, winners at the end of it because they said we're not going to win with the team we have. So let's just gut it out, try to get as much assets as possible. So I definitely think they did this the right way.
And then that's on top of what they already had with Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, and Mo Bamba. That they gonna be.
Markelle Fultz is coming back eventually.
Right.
Yeah, they finally have a direction. Like that core of Fournier, Gordon, and Vucevic had already hit its peak, which was winning one playoff game. They weren't going to win a playoff series. So it's either you make a big move and go for a championship, which wasn't available for the Magic, or trade everyone and try to bottom out. So at least now they have a clear direction. And it's a good time to do it because Isaac and Fultz are out. So you can kind of tank without putting bad habits into your young players. You can get another good draft pick to put with Fultz and Isaac. So at least they have sort of direction.
Wow,
I want to ask you about a trade.
This is like the 5th or 6th time they've done this. They keep on. That's the problem with it. This ain't the first time they done blew that damn roster up. They've done this a lot.
When you blow it up and take Mario Hezonja, that's what does it. Is you have to blow it and then you have to hit on your draft picks too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that they blew it up to get Vucevic and Gordon. See how well that went for him. So I don't think that they'll be drafting two big men in the foreseeable future if that's the way they want to build their team again. Lowell, I want to ask you, yay or nay for the Raptors-Blazers trade? Who do you like? Who do you think won that one?
Raptors Blazers trade.
Blazers got Norman Powell, and Raptors got Gary Trent Jr., two of the better benchmen in the NBA.
Rodney Hood went to the Raptors too.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good trade for both sides. I mean, like Norman Powell's a pretty good player. I mean, Gary Trent and Rodney Hood are both also pretty good players. I think Toronto maybe. No, I think the Raptors actually won that trade because I think Gary Trent and Rodney Hood are both really, really good bench players. I don't know if the Raptors are trying to especially at this point, I don't know if they're competing to go far in the playoffs. And Norman Powell is just a pretty good, all around, or a pretty good just addition in general. I think, yeah. He's pretty young too.
Yeah, the situation that Toronto seems to be stuck in 2 years after winning a championship is they're not sure if they're still able to contend. I think they realize now that window might be closing faster than they think, but they're not not also in a full rebuild. So I was wondering what you were thinking about that, Deonta.
So as far as the whole trade or just Toronto,
like the direction of the Raptors.
So as far as Toronto, I mean, I feel like they are where they are now because it was expected because when they traded DeMar and Proto for Kawhi, and he was only on contract for that one season. They kind of expected to re-sign him. They didn't re-sign him, so now they're like, okay, now we have a lot of young pieces. We're not that good, so it's just they kind of overachieved last year. So you see this year when there's actually everybody knows what things are. They're not that good of a team. They're in the middle. I mean, they traded Norman Powell was kind of expected because he was on a 1-year deal too. I'm shocked they didn't trade Lowry. I mean, I guess they didn't really get a good offer. So, I mean, that's kind of that. So, I mean, they're kind of stuck. I mean, Siakam's not an all-star caliber player to me anymore. They don't really have any bigs because they lost Gasol and Ibaka to free agency. So, I mean, they're not that good. I mean, they have Fred, and he's solid, but outside of that, they really don't have anything that can really show me that they're going to be a contender with the next couple of years. So I don't. They're kind of stuck. They're kind of where Orlando is, in my opinion, and I just like they kind of need to blow it up just to try to get some sense of direction.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck in.
Wayne, I want to ask you a similar question. The Blazers are contending, but they're a few pieces away. How far do you think this team can go?
The Portland Trail Blazers? How far they can go where?
In the West.
Man, listen. The Blazers is about to be one and done in the playoffs. Let me tell you something. You got the Lakers who gonna get healthy. They're not better than the Lakers. They're not better than Denver now that they got Aaron Gordon. Although I'm not a big Denver guy. I like chicken McNuggets more than I like the Denver Nuggets. But nevertheless, they still are better than the Portland Trail Blazers. We got the Dallas Mavericks, who are also better than the Portland Trail Blazers. We got the Clippers, who are also better than the Portland Trail Blazers. Those are 4 teams right there. All right. The Portland is not beating any of them. Portland can play, they can shoot, but that defense is anemic. That on defense, I don't know if they can stop me. You see what I'm saying? So yes, they can shoot. They can shoot. They are a good jump shooting team, but I don't see enough dynamicism with their offense. You see what I'm saying? And Damian is cool, but we've seen Damian, fall short in the playoffs. We've seen them fall short in the playoffs. We talking about a Portland team that was hot just to get dismissed in the first round. And there's a lot of teams in the West. The Suns are also going to be there. I don't see them beating none of them teams. And then they got rid of Gary Trent Jr., a shooter. If this was Melo 03, 05, 06, I'm taking Melo to the crib. But no, they ain't getting nowhere. They about to be one and done. They will be lucky if they make it 5 games or whoever they play in the first round. So how far are they getting? They getting about as far as a week in the playoffs.
Does anybody else feel as strongly?
I mean, not as strongly, but I agree. They can maybe beat Phoenix, but out of their other first matchups, I don't think they can beat any of those teams.
Mercury, maybe. You can't be talking about the Suns.
I think the Suns are better, but the Suns haven't been in the playoffs before. It's the only reason I would give Portland a chance.
Chris Paul's
been there. Yeah, it's Chris Paul's team now, yeah.
If he can make the Thunder look good, what do you think he getting ready to do with the Suns? So with a straight face, you trust the Portland Trail Blazers over the Phoenix Suns?
Oh heavens, no! I'm not trusting Portland with that thing.
Right. So they'll be lucky to get and so help them God if they end up linking up with the Clippers. That's gonna be they finna get their ass whooped for a good week and a half. Actually, probably about 3, 4, 5 games. This is not gonna make a week and a half. That would imply they go 7 games, and it ain't going nowhere near 7 games. This is gonna be over. It ought to be a 3-game series, but out of respect, I'll give them 5. They losing in 5 games, whoever they play, unless it's Dallas, then 6.
That you brought up an interesting point that I was thinking of. Obviously, with the play-in tournament, it'll be a little different this year. But Dallas versus Portland right now, how they're playing. I want to see who you guys think would win in that matchup.
Dallas and Portland? Dallas and 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Portland's playing nearly as good as Dallas right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a tough one. Dallas has been underwhelming all year, but overall, they just have more good than Portland. I would take Dallas. They're better coached too.
Deonta.
I'd probably go Dallas because Dallas is they've had a lot of injuries this season. They've had COVID protocols this whole season, and they're still only a game or a game and a half behind Portland in the standings. So I feel like they could definitely beat them. So I'd probably go Dallas and probably 5 or 6.
Another trade I wanted to bring up is two players of very similar talents, Mo Wagner and Adam Thies. Who won this one? Because the two of them are basically carbon copies, and just the Wizards and Celtics swapped them. So was there a real winner in this trade?
Robert Williams, that's the real winner.
So is there a real winner? I say Boston won because they got Wagner, who's I'm a real big fan of, especially since I've seen him play at Michigan. And they only made this move to get under the luxury tax. I know Thies, he's kind of he's like 6'8". He's kind of undersized for a big. I think Wagner's 6'11", 7 feet tall. So he definitely provides better size. I would definitely say Thies is better on offense, but as far as size and rebounding, and I feel like one underrated ability with Wagner, I think he's one of the best players the best players in the league at taking charges. So, he'll definitely give you a couple of those a game. So I definitely feel like Boston won because, like I said, size, and 2, they got under the luxury tax, getting rid of Thies, swapping them out for Mo Wagner.
Now that the dust has settled, we know who these teams are going to be rocking with for the rest of the year. Lowell, I want to ask you, regardless of standings, the top 4 teams in the Western Conference right now, injuries included.
Injuries included. Does that include so right now, right? Not later in the season. Okay, so man, dude. West, I would probably say so the Jazz definitely. They're playing insane right now. I don't know if they're gonna be able to keep that up the whole season, but right now, definitely the Jazz. After the Aaron Gordon trade, I'd say the Nuggets would be up there. This is not in order. In order, I would probably have the Nuggets at 3 and 4 or 4. And
Clippers gotta be up there.
Yeah, Clippers 100%. And then after that, I think it's kind of a toss up between the Suns or I would even put not the Grizzlies, but I would even put the Trailblazers up there in a scenario where Norman Powell comes in and starts playing.
So what we just went through with this damn team with a straight face, you just sat there and said the Portland Trailblazers are top 4 team. You don't even got them. You said Dallas. You picked Dallas. And with a straight face, you turn around and say Portland. What?
I don't think Portland's going to be part of the season, but I think right now Portland is top 4 with injuries included.
Better than Dallas right now.
Thank you for rejoining us. I had this whole question about if Aaron Gordon added another round to the Nuggets' playoff success, but I don't know where to go from that. Wade, I want you to just talk for a few minutes right now.
About what? About who? Lowell, man, you talk. So hold on.
Just talk some hoops.
Give me your top 4 teams again in the West right now.
Jazz, Clippers, Nuggets.
Jazz, Clippers, Nuggets.
Mavericks, Trailblazers, just toss up.
You didn't say Mavericks the first time.
Okay.
Don't go back. You said Portland.
Said Portland. Dallas was nowhere near your top 4. Okay, so look. Portland is a play-in team. All right. I like Damian Lillard. I like it. But here's what you can expect from the Portland Trailblazers. Almost just like this. You can expect tough play. You can expect them to get down by 15, 20 points because that's what they do. You can expect them to come back and get a win. And you're going to expect a couple logo threes because that's what he do. But then they will ultimately lose. The Portland leaves you with highlight memories, not win. Okay. So highlights do not win championships. Highlights do not win series. Highlights to get you a couple badges in 2K, but highlights do not get you nowhere in the West. They damn sure don't get you a top 4 spot in the West. I don't even know what the records are the standards are right now because I don't got it in front of me. But off memory right now, I don't got Portland off the top of my head with the West. Let me see. I got the Clippers who I got winning it all. The Nuggets look good. The Suns. I got a half a mind to take the Pelicans right now. They low down there. And then the Utah Jazz. And you're going to take the Portland Trailblazers. And they just got rid of a shooter. And they got Norman Powell, who the Raptors didn't even want. I'm not even convinced the Trailblazers want Norman Powell. I don't even know if Norman Powell want Norman Powell. And you got them in the top 4 seed in the West? No, they don't need to be nowhere near the top 4. Do they got a top 4 seed? Are they a top 4 seed right now? They can't be. Not over the Jazz. The Lakers are still high, but they getting ready to come down, and they not there because right now they hurt. Okay, but I would make a case right. No, I wouldn't. The Portland Trailblazers. So I take that back. But they a hell of it's other teams are better than the Trailblazers. A lot of that. And I like Portland. I like Dame. But there ain't no way in hell with a straight face they can be a top 4 seed.
Wayne, I don't want you to get too far from that soapbox. I teased this to Theo as well, and I ask you now, the officiating this season has been poor, to say the least. How do you feel about the refs having way too much pull in these games?
Here's my thing with refs and all that. It's almost like that. It's almost like that every year. It's like that every year, and it's certain refs, and I hate it because it depends on who you ask and who you talking to. Me, I'm a guy. I think here's my thing with I didn't like the whole ejection things. Now, some people, it just depends on me. I'm old school. So I think all these little ticky-tack fouls, I wouldn't be blowing nothing. If I was a ref, you might hear me blow a whistle 3 times in the course of 48 minutes. So I might be the wrong one to ask. But if the rule is contact, that's a foul. So by definition, it is a foul. So if it's a foul in the first quarter, it should be a foul in the third, fourth, in the fifth, in the fourth quarter, or overtime if you need be. But at the same time, playoffs, I just want to see how they're going to call it in the playoffs. And then I think really what was really messing with some teams, particularly the Knicks, not all teams play alike. A team like the Knicks, the refs don't do them no favors because they're a physical team. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas use a team like the Suns and low-key the Clippers play like too. They do a lot of jump shooting. They don't do a lot of Okay. They don't do a lot of jump shooting like that. So I think it just depends on the team. That's why you see some of the disconnect. It looks like it's unfair, but they're really it's really how the players play and how the teams play. Because some teams are more physical than others because of the skill set they got. So honestly, it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of part of it.
All right. I want to let Wayne catch his breath for a minute. Deonta, how do you feel about the officiating so far?
So the officiating, obviously, nobody's going to agree that, some people might say it's good, some people might say it's bad. The only thing that I really ask of the refs is just be consistent. If you're going to eject somebody for doing something, just make sure you do it, for the rest of the season, just so everybody knows, okay, this is where it is. This is what's allowed. This is not. This isn't allowed. That's all that I really ask. Can the referee be better? Of course it can. It's not always perfect. You're not always going to please everybody. You're going to make somebody upset. As long as you keep it consistent, that's all I really ask for out of the refs.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I think Wayne brought up a perfect example the other night in the Knicks game versus the 76ers, when I feel like they overstepped their boundaries, giving Julius Randle that unnecessary foul, which totally changed the complexion of the game. Yes, there was a little bit of time left, but the Knicks were hot at the exact right moment you wanted them to start shooting well and getting back into the game. So it totally took the Knicks and all of their momentum out of that game. And I don't want to say cost them because they were down, but it did contribute into losing that game and sealing their fate.
Are you talking about the foul with the Tobias Harris?
Against Harris.
That if they didn't call that foul, we win that game because we was already in the penalty at that point because they had already been killing us with the whistle already. Because it was those free throws that put them up. We was actually ahead at that point. If they didn't call it, it was like 5 seconds left. We win that game if they don't call the foul. Which it shouldn't have been, but what can you do?